Farming is definitely a way of life. Truly have to love what you do because you're sort of on call 24/7.
We are a cow-calf operation. We raise Black Angus beef. A lot of our stuff today now actually will make it to Whole Foods.
So I always kind of wanted to be a police officer. I'm the sergeant of the Alcohol Initiatives Unit for the Montgomery County Police Department. It's work that means a lot because you're taking people that could kill someone off of the road. And then I'm a line judge in the Coastal, Ivy, and Patriot Leagues for football officiating, which is NCAA Division I FCS football.
We had had a great morning. It was his first day of vacation. It was Thanksgiving week.
I was in a skid loader and I needed to take the net off of the bale. So I lifted the safety bar up and started to slide my body out, and I hit the control lever and the loader arms come down and crushed my pelvis between the main frame of the machine and the loader frame.
When I finished lunch, he still hadn't come in the house, so I told our dog Jade, I'm like, come on, let's go see where Daddy is.
I was able to raise the loader back up to get it off of me, and then I was able to manipulate my body out from around and underneath this thing to where I finally collapsed along the side. I come through that door from outside, and the skid loader was here, and I just crawled through these bars.
And I'm like, Zine, are you okay? And he said, I've been crushed, call 911.
That's probably when the most fear hit me, because I was worried about internal injuries, whether I was going to die or not.
Further County 911, what's the address of the emergency? And tell me exactly what happened.
Rescue Engine 7, Medic 79, EMS 1814 respond.
When we arrived, he didn't look too good. I mean, he was in a lot of pain in his pelvis area.
And he just was crying and said, I'm really sorry, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die, I'm sorry.
The area he was laying was a little more than a foot wide. Had to get him to an open area, and we decided to take him to the medic and place a pelvic binder.
And then I could hear a helicopter. And then I said, are they gonna fly him out? And they said, yes.
Mr. Wolf appeared to be in excruciating pain and also appeared to have pelvis injury and life-threatening.
When the helicopter took off, I didn't think he'd ever walk again.
There was a known aggressive speeding driver that would try to bait the police into chases. Back in May of 23, I had encountered him where I had him on the laser going 136 miles an hour on 270 racing another driver. He needed to be stopped. He was going to kill somebody, himself or someone else, if he wasn't stopped.
Calendar going on Northside 270 to past Park first.
On October 18th, we came up with a plan to try to stop him. I was getting ready to throw my stop sticks out to try to stop him, and before I could even do that, I just saw the car start to change its course and come right at me. And it was all captured on Bodycam footage.
Just got 10 men. I got 8. I need fire rescue. I'm at Watkins Mill. Please send ASAP.
Yeah. Yes. Okay? Yes.
We need fire rescue here now. They're coming. Just make sure somebody's with them. Make sure it's ALS. We need them here priority or tourniquet applied.
For the first 2 officers that got on scene, they did exactly what they were trained to do. They put those tourniquets on within seconds.
Sarge, hold it back. Hold it back. Sarge, stay down.
Hey, Mary 12, tourniquet applied.
The other Montgomery County police officers that were there saved his life.
I'm starting to get massive pain in my legs.
You're doing it, Cap. You're doing it. You're doing it.
Initially, there was one leg that had a complete amputation about midway down the shin, and then his other leg had a partial amputation that was held on by just the skin on the back side of his lower leg. And they found his foot in a sock about 150 foot up the roadway.
2, 1.
Hold on. 1, 2, 3.
I'm right here. I'm with you, okay? I'm right here.
For us, it was just pain management, making sure we get him to the hospital as fast as we could to get him to the right facility right out of the gate.
If there's nothing I can do, I should be here. Place I knew he was at the right place because he was at shock trauma.
When he arrived, he was awake, but he had a pelvic binder on, and that's always a worry for us.
Mr. Wolf suffered a crush injury, crushing the front part of his pelvis and the back part of his pelvis.
The biggest thing that we are concerned about is massive bleeding.
Due to his soft tissue and organ injuries, we didn't have a choice but to stabilize his pelvis through an external fixator with big rods and bars and screws.
He unfortunately had torn his bladder off of the urethra, and so they were no longer in continuity, and directly underneath that the rectum was injured. Whereas normally we would put a catheter into the bladder, there was no connection to be able to do that.
They had to resuscitate Zine during surgery and that he had to have blood transfusions because the hematoma had burst. I kind of went numb at that point.
It was very difficult to manage his urine leak. He kept developing these fluid collections and urine would leak out of his thighs and he would develop these wounds that we had to manage.
A lot of the later part of his care was focused on controlling the potential infectious issues.
Zine in particular was complex as soon as he came up to us, mostly because he had an external fixator and you had to watch how you were moving him left and right and up and down. He had an open belly with a vac on it that you had to worry about how much is coming out of it. You had to worry about how his family is doing in all this and how they're reacting to that, and as well as how Zine is reacting to it.
I remember the nurse or technician asking how I was, how much pain I was in and all this. I remember saying, I'm gonna miss Thanksgiving. And she looked at me, she goes, Mr. Wolf, it's Sunday. So I had lost all that time. Sorry.
I have to say, very early on, I was very concerned that he would have a profound life-altering ability to ambulate. I wasn't sure we were going to get to have him have a viable option of reversing his colostomy.
Mr. Wolf suffered a crushing injury to his pelvis, which takes at least a year, if not longer, to recover. And it's not unusual for patients to not completely return to their baseline.
In every life, a little rain's gonna fall, and sometimes you get hit with the downpour, and sometimes you get hit with the tsunami. And unfortunately for Mr. Wolf, he got hit with a double tsunami.
Shock Trauma's online for information. We got a call from Syscom saying that Maryland State Police were flying us a police officer. Okay, what's the patient's current GCS? Who had been struck by a vehicle in Montgomery County.
He had tourniquets above his injuries, and they really helped a lot in terms of limiting his blood loss. Clearly had bilaterally mangled extremities. Mangled is the term we use, and they were really badly injured.
He was calm. He was aware of the fact that his right leg was gone already and understood that his left leg was in really bad shape as well.
There are times when salvaging an extremity is possible, but it's not a good idea.
We ended up having to amputate both of his legs
and that was very difficult.
It wasn't until late that evening when Dr. Scalea came in, and that was the first very difficult time when he just laid it out how it was. I'd lost my right leg through the knee at that point and my left leg below the knee, and that's when I really knew that the full gravity of the situation of what had happened.
Pat, like many of the patients in the hospital, experienced multiple setbacks during his multiple-month stay here at Shock Trauma. He had many returns to the operating room, and the course was not uphill the entire time. He had to deal with infections, disappointment after some of the surgeries, and it's never a straight line.
He also had a bunch of injuries up his posterior thigh and onto his buttocks, which were complicated, not only because they were complicated, but because of the location. So getting those to heal, keeping them clean, getting wound care to work was a real challenge.
I had 10 surgeries at Shock Trauma over the course of 51 days.
So I received a referral for Pat's Psycho-T evaluation fairly early on in the process. Initially, we talked a bit about kind of the nature of his injuries, because obviously very life-changing. Pat's one of the most motivated and resilient people that I think I've ever come across. So another thing that we worked on was having just a nice leisure visit with Remy. So something that Pat and I were able to work through was problem solving through some of the symptoms. How can we cope with that in the moment so we can get to the next step?
If you just think about the positives, I'm alive, I'm here, I'm going to walk again, I'm gonna be able to go do rehab and get back to work and get back to the football field. It's so much easier to think about those things and be more positive than it is to dwell on the negative stuff.
I was at Shock Trauma for 6.5 weeks.
With every passing day, as we saw the urine leaks heal, as the drains were working, those gave us hope and him hope that he was gonna leave the hospital.
Mr. Wolf tolerated his diet and was able to start to work more with PT and physical therapy and occupational therapy. We really felt we had turned the corner.
He was able to make the next step to have his urethra reconstructed and has tremendous function, and things healed up well enough to consider colostomy reversal, which we underwent not too long ago.
It's a team effort, and all the nurses, the techs, the people who clean my room, everybody. It wasn't like I was a job, I was a person. I'm sorry.
When you look at the multidisciplinary needs for a patient like this, not just to save a life, but to actually save a livelihood and have the restorative function, it's heartening to put together as a system.
I'm like 90% back to normal. I'm what Dr. Ephraim would say, my new normal, which I can't complain about what I am.
It's been a long journey. We're both looking forward to a bright future living here on the farm.
My injuries were similar to what our wounded warriors face, and that's why Congressman David Trone stepped up and got me the Secretary of Defense designee for healthcare status, which enabled me to get into Walter Reed for my rehab care.
It's kind of graduation day. And to get him to that point was really gratifying.
The goal here is getting back to football, and that's kind of what my therapy is tailored to, and what all the prosthetics work is tailored to, is to get me back to a place where I can officiate football. I believe I will be the first double amputee official in football, and probably, most likely, any other sport.
All right, let it bend, and then push it.
And then obviously get back to working on the road in Montgomery County as well.
hero, and celebrating a victory of sorts in a person whose job it is to give. What could be a better thing to celebrate?
The care at Shock Trauma is second to none. Every nurse and tech, and obviously the doctors, went above and beyond. The whole continuity of care from my officers that were there all the way through Shock Trauma to here at Walter Reed, it's just been incredible.
Those of us that live in the state of Maryland are incredibly blessed to have the most sophisticated pre-hospital care system anywhere in the country, maybe anywhere in the world. And then a trauma system that gets right person, right place, right amount of time. One Maryland, one Shock Trauma. It's our motto. It's how we do things every day.